All right, welcome to Y Space. We're back
Hey
again.
guys.
So today we have a plethora of topics. I told Becca earlier this week when I made the show notes, at least my part of them, that I just wrote down my stream of consciousness, which is probably frightening for anyone else reading it.
There's
How
just
did
so much stuff that happens so fast that I'm like, if I don't write it down, I'll forget it because then we're on to the next news story.
I know, and I was actually thinking ahead to next week. I was just telling you I'm going to be traveling Thursday and Friday of next week.
Yeah.
But then the following week, I'm going to be traveling like late Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we have Tortured Poets coming out that we've got to record about. So
Our lives are getting so busy.
Well, just so important. That's what it is. So as usual, we've got music, a little like news and sports. I'll let you pick again. Which topic would you like to start with?
I mean, we could start with Final Four since we just finished that for the women's.
True. Okay.
So men's as well. I just didn't.
Oh, yeah. By the way, they had the men's tournament. Nobody cared.
Yeah, that's it. So women's Final Four ended up being UConn, Iowa, North Carolina State, and South Carolina. All of those games were so good. So much fun to watch. And I'm not, in general, I don't watch basketball, men's or women's. It's not something I typically keep up with until March Madness. And then I watch like the end of it.
Yeah, now I can't watch the whole tournament. That'd be too much. No. I think it's weird that you don't watch more basketball.
I love watching basketball if I'm at the game, but for some reason, it's not one that I can just sit on TV and watch and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
In college, basketball games all the time, but
I'm that way about baseball. Like, I'm not going to, unless it's like the World Series, like the last game, I'm not going to sit and watch it on TV, but I love to go to a baseball game.
Yeah. I only got into baseball in 2020 because that was like the only sport that was still playing with COVID and nothing else was on. So I was like, we're going to be baseball fans now.
Now, what baseball team are y'all fans of?
If we have to pick one, I guess Texas Rangers. I feel like we got to go that route.
I grew up a Cubs fan, so.
We're a lot of fans.
Yeah, I grew up. Well, yeah, I was going to say, I'm very thankful that you didn't say Cardinals from the beginning. As a lifelong Cubs fan, that would have been real tough.
We would have to hate each other.
Yeah. We are slightly Royals fans as we're fans of Kansas City everything, but also Judd really loves Bobby Witt Jr. I don't know why, but he does. I mean, not that there's not a lot to love. He's amazing, but still, it's just kind of random. Anyway, the women's Final Four happened, and I have to say, I mean, I grew up playing basketball. That was my thing. That was one of the best Final Fours I would bet in history. Like, let alone the viewership. I've got it written down in the notes because I knew I wouldn't be able to remember the numbers. But the final game.
Oh, go ahead.
The final game was Iowa, or as my 8-year-old says, what does he say? He says like Owa. He always calls it Owa. He doesn't have like a weird speech thing. I don't know why he does that. But Owa in South Carolina. So it was Caitlin Clark played, which she lost. But anyway, 18.7 million viewers. And here's some little stats for you. It peaked during the game at 24 million. I can't even, like, that's just
wild.
I mean, we know we're not great with numbers in general, but that's just a lot of people. That is the most watched basketball game, men's or women's, college or pro, since 2019.
Wow.
This is the other thing that was startling to me. Excluding football and the Olympics, this was the most watched sporting event since 2019. I think it's amazing, but I'm just like, what just happened here? Like, that's insane.
Well, and I think, of course, Caitlin Clark brought a ton of viewership because people were so invested in watching her and seeing the records that she was breaking. But once you start watching her, then you're seeing all these other players on these other teams You've got Juju, Paige Buchers, like all these phenomenal players. So then you get invested of watching this. Plus the coaches for both teams, Dawn Staley, top notch, Lisa Bluter, top notch. So it was just enjoyable to get to see like two genuinely good teams and two great coaches go to battle. And it wasn't, I don't like watching sporting events when it's just trash talk between the coaches and the players to each other. I like when there's some humility and they're like, the other team is phenomenal. Like we are playing the best of the best. Like I enjoy that. And I felt like both teams, especially both coaches, did such a good job with that and made it more fun to watch and root for them.
Yeah. You know, something I've noticed with college women's basketball, and I think here in Arkansas, it's like on the forefront. We had Eric Musselman left to go to USC, and then yesterday we hired Coach Calipari from Kentucky, which I just shake my head because I still cannot wrap my head around the fact that he is the coach in Fayetteville. My friend Sarah Blair and I have been texting like she was dying for the press conference to happen because we were like, this isn't real, right? And when he stepped off the plane in Fayetteville and he was wearing red instead of blue, I was like, I feel like I'm watching a movie. This can't be real. I feel that way. But I say all that to say, I feel like women's basketball coaches have far more personality than men's.
Oh,
and 100%. I grew up, like growing up, it was my lifelong dream to play basketball for Pat Summitt. Listen, it was never going to happen. Your girl could survive. And at the time, what was 2A basketball in Arkansas, which means you go to a little school and you don't play any big schools. I could survive. There was no way I was going to the SEC, and there was for sure no way, because that was the height of Pat Summitt days at Tennessee. Like,
oh, you're frozen. Technical difficulties, folks.
We'll see. Are you there? My internet.
I'm here. Yep, there you are.
Okay, yeah, it was windy outside. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So back then, it was Pat Summitt and this guy named Coach Boramore from Louisiana Tech. And back then, they were like the biggest personalities in college basketball, plus Tara Danvers that's just retired from Stanford. But now you've got Kim Mulkey, which love her or hate her. I mean, her outfits are enough for a whole podcast in itself. But I mean, even like the Iowa coach, she doesn't come across like, if you just kind of see her in passing, you just kind of be like, meh, you know, she's kind of an older woman, whatever. She has a ton of personality. But then you have, to me, the GOAT of coaching right now basketball is Dawn Staley. I
100%.
freaking love her. The UConn coach, I really can't stand. I hate him. My favorite women's basketball player of all time, speaking of Tennessee, is Candace Parker. I think she's just like, I love her. And in 2016, he was coaching the U.S. women's Olympics team, and he left Candace Parker off the roster.
Okay. It's like forever we will hate him.
Yeah, like he claimed it was like she was having a down season, which a down Candace Parker season is like better than 98% of the league. But really everyone thinks it was beef between him and like Tennessee and everything. So I just can't stand him. But Dawn Staley, she is like freaking amazing. I would die to meet her. She's on my
top
list.
tier coach. I don't know that you get better. And I also noted, because I do think we're in this whole new world of like NIL money and popularity and college sports and all of those things. And I think you have, because Dawn Staley's been a coach for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
I think that you have these coaches that don't know how to change with the times. And then it ends up hindering their teams and their ability to have relationships with the players being so much younger than them. Mm-hmm. Just from watching her interactions with her players and hearing her speak at press conferences, it was so very evident how in tune she was with her players and knowing like, I have to let them be them, but I have to teach them the basics. As long as they have a foundation, then you can go off and do your crazy things and funny things. But I know you're a good player at the end of the day. And to me, that said so much for how she probably conducts herself in that locker room and at those practices. And even the final practice that they had that people could buy tickets for, like she was dancing on the floors. Like at that point, you're at the end. Let your kids enjoy the moment that they've gotten themselves to. And I just loved that for her.
Yeah. You know, a lot of times in women's basketball, you have male coaches. I mean, I say that in women's basketball, in every sport, obviously the predominant head coach is usually predominantly a male. And I think it makes sense, obviously, when it's male sports, it just seems to makes sense and it flows. But I have never, let me double check my facts here. Yeah, that's true. I have never played basketball, at least for a female head coach. I had an assistant coach in high school that was a female. But I've never played for a woman. And I always wanted to because I don't know. I just wanted to see what it was like. Obviously
There's a different connection there, I would think.
Well, and the other thing that I have noticed in college basketball, I don't think I've noticed this in football as much, but also if you notice in football, I feel like there's about 418 coaches per team. There's like an assistant of like pencil sharpening and like all kinds of things. So like, I don't know this for a fact in football, but I do feel like in basketball, you will see a lot of times that there are coaches who didn't actually play. And not that I think you can't coach a sport you haven't played, because I'm going to tell you right now, I could go out and coach my son's football team right now, probably better than anyway. I'll leave it there because I don't know if his wife listens, but whatever. Love him. He's great, fantastic human, but I think I could handle it. Yeah. But I just have always, as a former athlete, been like, okay, don't tell me what to do if you couldn't do it yourself. And so I think one of the reasons I love Dawn Staley is because she played and like at the time when she was playing back in the 90s, like to the highest levels you could. She was like a 6-time WNBA All-Star, like when the WNBA was starting, you know?
Yeah, she's impressive.
And so I just feel like even from that, like, not that I think you have to have played a sport to be able to coach it, because you can definitely know a game. We know football way more than we probably should. And we haven't played. So it's not that I don't think you can. I just think it brings a different element and a different level of trust between you and your players.
Well, I think that's across the board in life. I'm not really going to take advice and listen to somebody if they haven't themselves walked through that situation. Typically.
My favorite is before we got married, my favorite thing was people who had not been married or were divorced that were telling me marriage advice, or people that have never had children that give me parenting advice today. I love those people. Kind of people. Yeah. We were yesterday, took Judd to therapy yesterday, and he, for some reason, just realized that his therapist has children. He has 2 sons. And Judd says to the doctor, "Oh my gosh, you're a parent?" I looked at him and I said, "Do you think that we would take you to somebody that doesn't even have a kid to know you? Like, what's wrong with you?" Like, but I feel the same way in sports. Like, it just gives it a whole different level. But Dawn Staley, I adore her. But I do. Yeah. Caitlin Clark lost. Well, I shouldn't say she lost. Iowa lost. I don't want to put it all on her. But there's been a big debate about, can you be considered the GOAT of women's college basketball without having won a national championship? And I think you and I have kind of briefly talked about this, but I think that this conversation stems from the Burden to Rossi. I can't even talk today. The Rossi show. If you were watching the Final Four, Sue Burden, oh my God, my mind just went like Dana Rossi had a show, which I loved. I thought it was so good. Like their commentary.
Okay.
You didn't like it. I know.
I was to save your time.
Yeah. So I know you didn't like it. I liked their commentary, but I really liked, I love Sue Bird. And so that helps. I don't love Taurasi very much. and she is not a Caitlin Clark fan, and she's essentially like said in
She's
the show.
jealous.
Yeah, I think so too. When she said in the show, she was like, "Oh, just wait till she gets to the WNBA," and I want Caitlin to just school her.
Well, I saw that, and my first reaction was, how long have you guys been fighting for publicity around women's sports? And when you have it, you decide to jump in there and let's crap on the person that brought most of that viewership.
Yeah.
I think that there was just a lot of jealousy there, and maybe not even specifically at Caitlin. That's just who she took it out on. But the fact that like Taurasi was a phenomenal college player. She's a great WNBA player. No one's taking away from that, but she didn't get that kind of recognition when she played. Yeah. And I think that that's where the jealousy was stemming from. And I just thought, you need to go have a seat.
Well, here's a startling fact for you. She's the same age I am. She's 41 years old. Y'all, I could not run up and down the court today and play a whole basketball game. Couldn't happen. So it's like, just own where you're at. Like, yeah, I hated that part of it. But the whole debate about Caitlin being the GOAT stems from her comments, but also Breanna Stewart, who is another big WNBA player, probably considered right now the best. She's been the MVP 2 seasons in a row. And here's something I'd like to point out. Taurasi and Breanna Stewart, both UConn players, of course. Anyway, Breanna said no, that Caitlin cannot be considered the GOAT because she did not win a ring. I don't get behind that, because it's a team sport. If we were talking like golf or something, tennis, something that's like an individual sport, I could agree.
Yeah.
It's a team sport. I played with some girls who were exponentially better than me, and I played for some girls that every day I thought, why? God, why are they on this team?
I just, when she's doing the things that she's doing for the sport and she's breaking the records that she's breaking, you can't deny that she is one of the greatest players to ever play that game. We're not saying that she is better than every single woman that has ever played. That's not what anybody is saying.
No.
But again, it just showed that jealousy. And man, nobody tears women down after we've been trying to build each other up more than women. And it's upsetting to see.
It is. When we were talking about the viewership numbers, and we did mention that the men had a tournament too. Nobody cared. But I will tell you this. I thought this was interesting. So the men's national championship game only had 14.8. I say only had 14.8 million. So roughly 4 million less even watched it. I will say I think that had something to do with first of all, it was super late on a Monday night. And 2, I don't think the teams were that exciting.
No.
So I think that played into it. But I just think this was kind of the year of women's basketball. And for me, this kind of segues us to another topic, but I am obsessed with the U.S. women's national team for soccer.
Okay, I saw that in our notes, and I was like, "Oh, where are you gonna go with this?" I'm excited.
I just give bullet points, just so y'all know. Sometime I'll do a screenshot of our notes. I just give Becca bullet points. I don't tell her what's happening. Sometimes I feel like if they're like really off base, I'll have to put a little note so she's like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
So my son is obsessed with soccer, and I did not grow up liking soccer. Didn't play it. Didn't even play it when you were like in kindergarten and everybody played it. I was already playing basketball. So just not my thing. But Judd started playing soccer when he was 3. And he plays competitively now. We have a game tonight. It's actually the biggest game of his career, actually. So we'll check back in next week. I know they're playing a team that is a year older and is beating everyone in their age bracket by double digits. So we haven't lost in 3 seasons. So
okay. Good game.
But anyway, that's how I kind of got into soccer. And again, it's one that I can take it or leave it on TV because, it takes a real long time to score in soccer.
Yeah.
Real long time. And so that's not really my thing. I need constant scoring. But now I could sit and watch him play all day. But I don't know really why I got into women's soccer. I love any opportunity to support the United States. And so, FIFA World Cup stuff, I always get into it.
Okay.
So I think that's where my love of this women's team has come from. And we're getting to the point, though, where my most favorite soccer player of all time is kind of aging out, and that's Alex Morgan. She too is a Swiftie with us, and maybe that's why I love her. I don't know. I think she's pretty, and I just think she's fun, and she's amazing. She's definitely slowing down, but I don't even know that she's going to make the Olympic team, which to me is I can't talk about that yet. But
That's hard.
they just had a tournament last week called the She Believes tournament, which is kind of a precursor to the Olympics. It comes in between the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics. It's I think it's 6 or 8 different countries, so it's definitely on a much smaller scale, but it kind of gives you a preview to like what the countries are going to bring. Most people, whoever they take to their She Believes tournament, is their Olympic team. We're like the only country that it could be and it could not be. I really hope it is because Alex did make it.
Yeah.
But she was a sub in. The person that was supposed to be on the team tore her ACL. And so then they brought Alex in.
Gotcha.
But that girl's ACL still torn is all I'm saying. So
we don't want to hear that.
There's some, I don't know if you watched any of the World Cup for the women's, but there's some young players that I love. One of them is Dennis Rodman's daughter.
Yes.
Trinity Rodman. And she's just like her daddy. Don't let her fool you. She is buck wild. She just doesn't have all the piercings that at least that you can see.
Yeah.
There's a couple of girls from Stanford, and I really, really like them. Naomi Girma and Sophia Smith. There was a third one with them. There were 3 girls at Stanford that were like the next big thing in soccer. And one of them actually committed suicide. And the 3 of them lived together the whole 4 years, all best friends, grew up in the same circuit in California. And so obviously it was very hard on them. And they now have a initiative or foundation in her memory, Katie Meyer. So I love what they do. And the whole team got behind them with that and are very involved with it. And so I love that, but they're also just amazing players. I just love them. I don't know why. But anyway, they won the She Believes tournament this past weekend. I don't really even understand a lot of things that happen in soccer because technically the finals, they played Canada and it was tied at 2-2, but we still won. And it wasn't like there was a shootout. So I don't really understand how that happened, but I'm glad.
Right. I'll take it.
But that is a preview for us because we both are big Olympics fans.
Huge.
Huge. Y'all, when it's going on, I'm just going to tell you, all you're going to hear on this show is Olympics and Taylor Swift. It's just,
and I'm not apologizing for it. It's fantastic. You should get on board.
It's who we are. And, we'll let you know. We'll divide the show in 2 parts. So when we get to the Taylor part, Laura can drop off. And but I mean, that is just my personality. Like the Olympics, the Kansas City Chiefs.
It's fun to see good competition.
And getting to watch patriotism. God bless America. I just love I don't love our country where it is right now, but I love
that's the one thing we can all rally behind and support.
Yes,
like you just want your country to win.
Yeah.
If you don't, that's fine.
I think it's going to be super fun too. I always love the opening ceremonies. I'll watch every minute when they bring their flags in.
All the outfits.
Mm-hmm.
I never like ours, but I want to see them all. They all look weird.
That's because we always do the Ralph Lauren thing, and it's always a thing. But this year it's going to be super fun. Like it's totally up our alley. It's like marrying like entertainment pop culture with sports because like Kelly Clarkson's a part of the show with Peyton Manning.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be so good. The commentators are going to be phenomenal.
We might as well go at this point.
Sean Johnson is going to be commentating with some of the gymnastic events. I love her.
What is your favorite summer Olympic sport?
Oh, I love watching the Olympics and track and field. Those are the 2 that I don't miss any of those events. I just think that that's so fun to watch. But I got into the Olympics as a kid by watching gymnastics.
Oh yeah. I mean, who didn't at our age? Yeah.
Exactly. And there's always huge names for it. So it's always fun to watch them get to compete.
Yeah, I think when like our age range, our generation, I think it was gymnastics, and back then it was figure skating, but not in the summer, obviously.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Tanya Harding, good Lord, woman, could have taken us all out. So you have that to look forward to. Beck and I were just talking this week, like the next few weeks, guys, we have a
Busy.
lot of content. We may have to quit our jobs. I don't know. Probably not, just to be honest.
Start a GoFundMe just so we can chit chat.
Yeah. Maybe this will be what really takes us to the next level, and we do get invited to the Olympics. So
go.
I've got my passport. I can head to Paris at any point.
Just let me know.
All right, so we're on the sports theme, so let me check my notes. All right, we talked about women's soccer. We talked about the Final Four. Okay. This is a big week in sports in my life. So I was a basketball player growing up. Sometime after college, in my mid-20s, I got invited to play in a golf tournament. And I had never like played more golf than like putt-putt. Just not my thing. But apparently I was decent. And it was back in Fayetteville, where I'm from, and Stacey Lewis is a big LPGA golfer, and she played at Arkansas in Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. Just so happens that the team that was behind us playing was her coach in this tournament. And so she came up to me and started talking to me. I didn't know who she was. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, like, how long have you been playing?" And I was like,
since
about 2 hours. It teed off at 8. It's okay. It's about 2 hours. And she was like, "Well, you have like a really natural ability." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, whatever." I still didn't know who she was. So I go back to playing. And so the person I'm playing with, he says, "Do you know who that is?" No. I just thought he was asking me like in general. And he was like, "No, that's Stacey Lewis's coach." And I was like the LPGA player, Stacey Lewis? And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." And I, being cocky, I was like, "Well, she thinks
I was natural."
So she ended up talking to me after and asked me if I wanted to come down to Texas the next weekend to play in a tournament. Just like a scramble kind of tournament. I'm not talking about the LPGA. So I was like, sure. I mean, I wasn't married, wasn't dating anybody, so whatever.
Experience.
So I went and I just played really well. I think here's the thing. I think this about a lot of sports. If you don't know what you're doing and you don't care about the outcome, 9 times out of 10 you're going to play better. There's no pressure. Because I can tell you in the beginning of this story that I played really well at the beginning of this next venture in my life. And then once it started to matter, not so much. So like one thing led to another, and over a course of about 3 months, I ended up making what they call like the Texas like amateur tour.
Okay.
And so it's like, guys, this is not a big deal. This is, please, like, you could make it today if you've never picked up a club. But it's essentially like you travel all over Texas on your own dime, and you play in these tournaments that have like a payout if you win of like $1,000. Like this is not fancy. But if you do well enough, you can earn what they called like your playing card to play in to the Symetra Tour, which is like the preamble to making the LPGA.
Okay.
So I did this for a summer. I just quit my job. I was like 20.
As one does.
Yeah. I mean, this was like 20. I met Aaron in 2013. So this was 2012. I just quit my job and went to play golf for a whole summer in Texas. I lived in Austin, and that's what I did. I played golf for a whole summer, played in tournaments, won some money, not enough to pay my bills, still needed the job that I quit. And I got to like the final championship tournament and missed like moving on to the next level of golf by 3 strokes.
Oh.
Well, and technically it was 3 putts. And so like the big joke is, so when I failed at that, I then had to move home. And I lived with my mom for a few months and got a job in that town, and that's how I met Aaron. So I always say, thank God I'm terrible at putting because we'd have never gotten married. But I say all this to say I have been in love with the Masters golf tournament forever. It was like a bucket list item that my dad and I really wanted to go, and he passed away like the year before we were gonna like move up in the lottery to get tickets. That was a whole thing. Um, when I got my very first dog that was my own dog, I named him Augusta. Like, guys, I freaking love the Masters, and it is Masters tournament week.
Masters week. It is.
Did you even get to catch any of the par 3 tournament? Because I know you were like busy doing your real job.
I caught it. So it was on YouTube last night. So I watched most of it there last night. And then I was watching the highlights from the actual start of the Masters yesterday. So golf is not something like I'm not going to turn on the TV and watch a couple of rounds of golf. I can't play golf to save my life. If you give me a golf club and tell me to hit the ball off the tee, 9 times out of 10, that ball is not moving off the tee when I swing. It's just, I don't know.
When Aaron and I started dating, like right at the beginning of our relationship, I entered us in a golf tournament, the two of us. He'd never played. I didn't know that. And it was a golf tournament that some friends of mine were hosting, and we were on like the 3rd hole, and I was already like, what is happening? He is awful. And I was thinking maybe he was just nervous, and my friend Ashley came up to him and was like, dude, if you don't turn this around, she's breaking up with you, I can guarantee you. He teed off the next shot, which if you don't understand golf, that means the ball is going in front of you.
Yeah.
No. Homie teed off and it went behind him. I don't even know how. I don't even know. I still married him, but I don't know how. I mean,
my dad was a huge golfer. He always golfed. He loved the PGA Tour. So I always remember him watching the Masters and watching some of those tournaments on TV. And so that's kind of like I've kept up with like the big names that are in the game and kind of watch that. But the Masters week is always so much fun to see. I love how they make it like a family event, even though it's like the biggest game that these guys will play. It's the one that everybody wants to say, I'm a Masters champion. Yeah. And I love things that just have so much history and tradition, and the Tuesday night dinner for, that the winner hosts. Like, I just love all of that. So it's fun to watch them get to just be normal, fun guys and enjoy each other's company, and then flip that switch when the Masters actual tournament starts.
Same. I mean, we've talked about it before on here, like pomp and circumstances should be my middle name. Like, I love tradition. I love the heritage of stuff. There's so much history in Augusta, and
and it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Listen, I know this is not very feminist of us because women, well, until recently, women have not even been allowed to play there. Now they do have a LPGA event that happens there, and I think they finally gave Condoleezza Rice a membership there, but she's like the first woman ever. I don't care. I mean, bless you all. I appreciate everything you've done for women's rights. I don't care. It's not. It has never once bothered me. Like, but yeah, that green jacket, Augusta, just like Azalea Corn, like just all of it. All of it. I love it.
So good. And it's fun to see like Tiger Woods, who we watched, our dads watch on TV. Like, he's still in the tournament and he's still good. Like, and then you have guys that are fun to watch as well.
One of my favorite traditions at the Masters. So like when they're going to tee off and start the tournament, it was always Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and Gary Player would like take the initial like inaugural shots. And of course now everybody's old and dying, and we're down to just, a Gary and a Jack. But I love every minute of it. Do you have any predictions that we can come back and see how we did on who might win?
I mean, what is it? DeChambeau? Is that
how
it says? I mean, he's obviously doing really well. I would love to see Jordan Spieth win it. I would love to see McIlroy win it. I love both of them so much.
Yeah. Jordan, like, gosh, I freaking love
Jordan. I don't want a live guy to win it. I feel like as growing up on PGA, I can't support the live guys.
Well, so here's my problem. So I told you that I named the first dog I ever, well, actually he was not the first dog I owned on my own. But my dog's name was Augusta Mickelson. Nice. And because I've always been a huge Phil fan, I love his personality. I don't care that he gambles on sports. Like, get over yourselves, people. They all do. Yeah. But I think Phil's days are behind him. Every once in a while he creeps in. I love that Ricky Fowler won the par 3 though. I
love Ricky Fowler.
I do too. I don't see him pulling it off. I think it could be Bryson. This finally could be Rory's time. I don't know. That Scotty Scheffler, Brooks Koepka, John Rahm, they're all up there.
Scotty Scheffler's wife is due like any second. And so they were saying like the only one that can beat Scotty Scheffler is Meredith Scheffler.
Yeah. There was somebody, it's him and somebody else. I don't remember who it is, but they're both like, hold your legs together because
right. And both of them said, like, if my wife goes into labor, I'm out. And I'm like, I
just feel like their wives.
Labor takes a long time, guys. You can finish.
I kind of feel like, at least like what I've seen of Meredith Scheffler, I just feel like she won't let him find out that she's in labor.
No. And honestly, that's what I was thinking yesterday when I was watching the highlights. I was like, I bet you she has already told anybody, if I go into labor, you don't tell him. Like, let him focus. Yeah.
I don't know. I could just see that. Jordan has not started off well at all. I saw where he got like a quadruple bogey, I think, on the 15th, which that ain't good.
Those holes though, I was like, God, you got to hit that thing perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. Scotty is tied for first right now. He doesn't tee off until like later on this afternoon, maybe like in an hour or so, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll come back and check in on our predictions, but I love the Masters and I would die to go. I just would.
Yeah.
Something else, I don't even know. Did you see the pictures I had in the show notes? Because we always have something weird that happens when I put pictures in the show notes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you saw my one about Deion Sanders.
I think so.
Okay. So something else I wanted to talk about. We've got the NFL draft coming up, which we'll do a whole thing on that.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So there's this thing, right? Like there's been this thing lately where people have said Caleb Williams, who's pretty much projected as the number 1 pick, oh, does he really want to go to the Bears? Is he going to try to tank and not go to the Bears? If you remember quite a few years ago, Eli Manning was technically drafted by the Chargers and he was like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah.
So they had to trade him to the Giants. So Deion has come out and said that he is only going to allow his son, Shador, and Travis Hunter, that also plays for him, to get drafted by the Eagles, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Commanders, Ravens, and the Falcons. How do you feel about this?
Well, first off, I think that's an interesting group of teams that you chose.
Well, of course, everyone that he played for. I mean, yeah.
Then why are you stifling what they could go and be? I don't think that does them fair service. At some point, you have to let these kids go off and grow in their own right and stop following in your shadow. So I understand from a parent's perspective, and also he was an NFL player. He knows the ins and outs.
Right.
But also you haven't been in an NFL team in quite some years.
A minute or two.
So it's just one of those things where you're like, let them get to go experience the NFL and learn and grow just like he had the opportunity to. Don't, just put barriers around. Sorry, you could get drafted, but because this team didn't pick you, you're going to have to go get a real job. Like that just doesn't.
Yeah. I think, so I brought up Caleb Williams. My friend Stephanie, who we talked about last week, being the USC person, we have talked a lot about all the drama that's been in the news about Caleb. He wouldn't do the physical. He wouldn't release his medical records. He didn't do the combine. He didn't do a pro day. And she has always said it's not him, it's the people around him. I think specifically his dad. And maybe that's true. I mean, I don't know because I don't know them.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, so I think teams, and I think the Bears are so desperate they don't care what he says. They're just going to go for him anyway.
Yeah.
But I think teams are kind of like, okay, it's not really him. So are they going to feel that way about Shador and Travis Hunter? I don't know. Because honestly, I think Travis and Shador both have Deion's personality.
Well, I think they're going to have to prove themselves this year.
Yeah, last year, win some games.
Yeah,
and maybe stay healthy.
You can only get so far on your name, but then when you're actually on the field with the other NFL guys, Daddy can't be there to protect and to tell people what you are and aren't going to do. So
no, and it's funny because
probably telling for them.
Judd has said for a while now that like his dream when he that he wants to be when he grows up, he wants to be a tight end for the Chiefs. Shocker.
Me too.
Listen, I don't know where he got that from, but but I've tried to explain to him that at least in the NFL, to be drafted, if you want to be a first round draft pick, you're going to have, and you want to be drafted early, you're going to have to hope that your favorite team sucks because otherwise you're going to drop. Right. And so it's like, well, if you were getting drafted this next year, Judd, and you wanted to be the number 1 pick, it's not going to happen because they have the 32nd pick. And, it's not like a lottery like the NBA. And so, and as he says that about the baseball thing, if he goes to the MLB, he wants to play for the Royals, which right now could possibly be the last pick. But
there you go.
It's like, yeah, so you got to be careful. And so my thing too, though, is like, I mean, yeah, that'd be amazing to be the number 1 pick. And I've heard that's why Shedeur didn't enter the draft this time, because he knew that Caleb would be number 1 and he wants to be the number 1 pick. And then I look at that list of teams that Deion's got. I mean, maybe the Commanders or the Falcons, but nobody else on that list is going to have the number 1 pick unless they trade up for it.
But also, I think if you honestly think you're a great football player, why would you want to go in the very beginning and go to the crappy teams? Like,
that's my point.
Look at Bryce Young. The poor guy is stuck.
Oh,
a couple of years.
Just
and you
sad.
know he's a great player. He's going to be incredible in the NFL, but he's got to get out of that situation. Mm-hmm. But because he was so good in college, look what happened.
It's a Cam Newton situation, in my opinion. Yeah. Cam Newton is arguably, at least in my opinion, was one of the best college football players of all time. And what happened in the NFL? Well, he got stuck on the Panthers, people. Like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I also think that list is weird, not for Travis Hunter as much, but for Shedeur, I think it's weird because, I mean, maybe the Commanders or the Falcons, but those other teams have pretty solidified quarterbacks. And so I don't
think Travis could go anywhere because he plays both sides.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it wouldn't matter for him, but Shedeur, I think that's weird because it's not like the Eagles are going to pick him and get rid of Jalen Hurts.
No, and they're definitely not going to put him as your backup.
Now, the Cowboys, are in a precarious situation because they've not gone long-term. Yeah, they haven't gone long-term with Dak, and so maybe.
And a coach. Maybe they'll go together.
Oh, God. What if Jerry goes and gets Deion as their coach and picks up Steven? I quit.
Oh my gosh.
Lord help.
I'll put that on the board just to see if that prediction happens.
Oh man, I didn't even think of that. We're gonna write that one down.
Because McCarthy, unless he gets to the Super Bowl and wins it, they're not extending his contract.
No.
Or Dax. So
he was a bad pick in general. But also Jerry, bless him, he got his Calipari at Arkansas, but I don't know that he's gonna make it very long.
Golly.
Like older than Methuselah.
Yeah.
That's all I had in the way of sports. Did you have any other sports news before we switch topics?
No, I think we touched on all of ours.
Okay.
At least that we pay attention to.
Yeah, exactly. Everything else we have is music, except for one thing I was going to ask you about, and we have not even spoken about it this week, so you may not even, well, I know better. You've heard about this. Ashley McGuire, have you heard about this? Oh, skeptical look.
I don't think so.
I am disappointed. Did Laura jump on the show and I got confused?
Did Google so fast?
So I'll tell the people, and apparently you, Ashley McGuire is a woman who randomly put a man on blast on the internet, picture of her and him, and said, hey.
I need to know her name.
Okay.
I'm with
essentially, this is my husband. He ghosted me and our baby. Does anybody know where he is? Well, kind of like the Risa Tisa thing, people got all up in this.
All over it.
Well, they found him, of course, as if you need anything, either call the Swifties or call Twitter, because
that's right.
You can get it solved right there. They found him, and I don't know what's going to happen with all this, because I think he's remarried. I don't know.
Well, I think he was dating, like he was on all these dating apps and things.
And people were like, oh, I matched
him. I just need to find him to give him the divorce papers to sign. Like, I don't know ill will. I don't want it back. I just need to see her. Which, can you even imagine being in a place in your
No.
marriage, like you're trying to get divorced, you've got children that you're taking care of, and your husband's just up
Gone.
and missing?
Yeah, in today's world. But I love that she had the wherewithal to know, like, I'm gonna put him on the internet. We're gonna find
Yeah,
him.
somebody's gonna know where he is.
Yeah.
I
Listen,
love that he was dumb enough to think I can get on dating apps and no one's ever gonna find out who I am.
yes. Listen, I don't
Right.
care. I don't care how volatile the situation is, but if something happens and I turn up missing, please just put something out there and put hashtag Swifties or Taylor Swift. They will find me. I'm telling you,
Fast.
there is nothing they cannot do. There's just
That's true. That is true.
I just wanted to bring that up to let the audience know that if you are missing someone right now or something is amiss, please get it on the internet. We'll
Right.
help support you and find it. I mean, it's going to happen for you.
Yeah. Just work on your hashtag game. We'll find it.
I just loved this entire thing. But we will talk quickly about Taylor and some Taylor news. So Laura, go ahead and go cook dinner because you're not going to want this part. But speaking of things the Swifties can do, I do have a complaint.
Oh, okay. This
I
is
know.
new.
I know.
Okay.
Or you may actually want to stay for this part. I don't know. Listen, we all love Taylor, right?
We do.
If we have any sense, we do, I'll say. Got the new album coming out. We have been royally fed over the past year with the Eras Tour, Travis, 15,000 albums, you know, all
Yes.
kinds of things.
All the things.
Guys, I don't like Joe Alwyn either, okay? I think he's a loser. I think he used her for 6 years. I think we will know even more next Friday what a douchebag he was.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no reason for any of you to be posting death threats to this person.
Yeah.
And y'all, it is insane. The Swifties can find anyone, but they can also lose their minds and be absolutely crazy in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
People are getting like violent, like saying some things that like, holy bananas, you people have got to pull it together. Like, did
Like,
he
here's
mistreat her? Maybe, but don't do this. Like, this is
Yeah.
wrong.
she's moved on and she's happy. Don't
Yep.
rehash all this more than it has to be. She wrote
Yeah.
her songs years ago. They've been recorded for a while. She's just releasing it now. That doesn't mean that there's still anger there. Like, we've got to, don't make him trend on X. Don't make him
Whoa, that's
famous.
my point. That's the thing. I saw somebody say this today on, I love how you always call it X and I always call it Twitter. I just
I
can't
try
do it.
to remember.
I can't do it. I feel like I'm talking about porn. I can't do it. I just can't do it. But I saw today somebody.
Okay, noted.
Yeah, see, now you're gonna think of it every time. I saw today on Twitter, someone said, don't next week when it comes out, don't put his name on Twitter because he'll trend.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, guys. Like, do we like Joe Alwyn? No.
No.
Is he a good actor? No.
No.
If you've seen any of the stuff he's been in, he's terrible.
Right.
Let his work speak for him. Like, it alone will sink him.
Yeah. He'll end his career on his own.
He's not working outside of anything he got while he was still with her. So stop.
Yeah.
But I just think too, like, here's the thing. I was at the Minneapolis show when she sang Dear John live for the first time. And she made the whole like, you know, I don't care about something that happened 19 years ago. You guys should either don't go after him.
Just a song.
Yeah. Don't go after Joe. Like, he's not worth it. And guys, we don't wish she was with Joe. We're so happy she's with Travis. Like, please let the man rot. Who cares?
Right.
I mean, he sounds like a deplorable human being. I believe all the rumors I've heard. I believe them all. Like, I just do.
I just listen, your choices catch up with you eventually, and he's reaping, you know, the consequences of those things already. We don't have to add to that.
And here's the thing, guys. If it is true that he cheated on her with the people that it is rumored that he cheated on her with, let him have them. Yuck.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If that's what you wanted, you didn't deserve to be with her anyway. So move on.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there. I think that that's lame. Guys, just stop. There's that part of it. We are 1 week away.
Exactly one. Yeah.
So like by this time next week, first of all, I'll be in New Orleans. Praise Jesus. Number 2, we will have heard the album at least once.
Yes.
I'll be honest. I'll probably have heard it if it comes out at midnight, probably about 4 or 5 times by now. Um, I can't wait. I do need to correct something from last week because
Okay.
apparently I fell into the trap of a rumor. And I thought that the track links that we had last week were accurate and that So Long London was 9 minutes and 28 seconds, which was their anniversary. I was lied to. It's not. It is long. I think it's still 5 minutes or something,
Yeah.
but it's not 9 minutes and 28 seconds. Y'all got me. Y'all are stupid. Stop
It was
it.
believable.
I mean, it is something she would do, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
anyway, so when we were in the show last week, she dropped the playlist. I think we were like live when that happened, weren't we?
I believe so. If not, it had just dropped
Like,
right before
right
that.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever finally like take a look at all the song tracks with the titles and all that?
No. So here's the thing. When I listen to any album that an artist drops, I want to listen to it without any preconceived notions. I don't want to know possibly what it was about. Obviously, we think a lot of these are going to be about Joe and that relationship. But
Yep.
I just want to listen to the songs just to hear the music and how good it is and the writing. And then I'll go back and like listen to it again with more of that information. So that's something I'll go back and read. I just want to listen to it first to kind of get my first actual impressions before it's like
But wait a minute.
muddied with thought.
But wait a minute. So the playlist though are all her old songs. It's not the new songs. See, I
What
could
were
tell
you
you.
talking about? That's what I was talking about. Was it all the songs that are going to be on the album?
No, good lord. No.
Are you talking about the variants?
No. God, you're on the wrong stuff.
I'm just all over.
About last week when we were recording, remember my Twitter went off and she had dropped 5 playlists on the 5 phases of grief.
Oh.
Oh, and that's usually me that's a struggle fest. Not today.
Not today. Yes.
So, okay. So, and I have to pull it up. I meant to put it in my notes, but
God bless, maybe.
Golly, that was a train wreck waiting to happen. But
you can't pronounce things.
Listen,
maybe we don't quit our jobs yet.
No, we're gonna have to stay doing it unless they call us for Paris. Then we're in. So okay. So if you haven't listened to these and you do like Taylor, this is not for you, Laura. There are 5 new playlists that she has curated herself on Apple Music, which I had to go buy because I'm a Spotify person. She's got I Can Do It with a Broken Heart songs, Am I Allowed to Cry songs, You Don't Get to Tell Me About Sad songs, I Love You, It's Ruining My Life songs, and Old Habits Die Screaming songs. So these represent the 5 stages of grief, which people have speculated for a while now that the new album is going to kind of like work through that. Those different stages. And I think what I read though, and this didn't come straight from Taylor, I don't think, but I think they were saying it did come from her people saying that she created these playlists because she saw everyone's idea about the stages of grief. So she did this. So it made it sound like that wasn't really how she went into the album.
Yes, I think when she started releasing the different variants and people were looking at the color tones of each one, that's when they put it to that whole grief thing. But I heard the same thing where she was like, that wasn't my intention for it, but she liked that people came up with that. And so that's kind of what spurred let's just lean into that. So.
Well, I mean, leave it to the Swifties. It's a good one. There were some surprising things on the playlist. There were some Swiftie speculations that were confirmed by the way Taylor curated these lists.
Yeah.
You know, we all have our different ideas of what we think songs are about. I think that's going to be at a heightened level with this new album because of Joe. But she's never confirmed most rumors. Like, yes, that's what it's about. No, it's not. There have been songs that she has put out videos. Lavender Haze. She said it's about, that initial phase of falling in love. Well, last week she took that video down, and now it is not in a playlist that makes you think anything about falling in love.
Nope.
So that isn't a good look. But I will say some of the highlights that I thought were good little nuggets. The one called I Can Do It with a Broken Heart, the thing that I noticed is that the majority of this playlist towards the end are songs about falling in love again. So songs like Clean, my favorite, This Love, Begin Again, Daylight, all of those are on there. And so Invisible String, things like that. So I thought that was kind of telling. It's like I can fall in love even though I had a broken heart. So I was happy about that one because that was, to me, that's a nod about Travis. I'm going to go ahead and say I do not think that there are any songs on TTPD about Travis. I think it's too soon. I think those songs have been written and probably recorded, but they're not on this album.
Yeah. I will be excited for the next new because I just think even take away the relationship between her and Travis, the life that she got to live with the Eras Tour and all of the accolades and all of those things that she got, like, has to have been such a reward for her. And then add in the Travis aspect. So I think the next actual new album that we're going to get is going to be probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. On the Am I Allowed to Cry playlist, there were some heartbreakers on here for me. Cornelia Street. There's obviously been speculation that this could be about two different people. I choose to believe it was about Joe, because I don't get into the other situation that people have. But I thought that was sad. I'm with her on that. Like, can I cry about that? Because I didn't swear I'd never go back there. So I thought that was tough. Better Man was on there. Come Back, Be Here, Say Don't Go. I thought those were, Cornelia Street got me though on that one. The other one, You Don't Get to Tell Me About Sad Songs. I love that it started with vigilante shit because I think it's kind of her like, you don't get to tell me what to do anymore. This is over. Like, Bad Blood was on there. I was like, oh, that was
a good playlist. Yeah.
Yeah, this is angry. I'm happy about that one. We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together is on there.
Yep.
The I Love You, It's Running My Life. That's where Lavender Haze is the first song. So that's a tough look for you, Joe. I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah. That was like kind of the big thing that stuck out to me on there. False God is on there, but the other thing that stuck out to everyone is Lover is on there.
I know.
That's a tough look there. There is a video.
I would love to have been in the room while she was going through and picking the songs for these playlists. Because, she's probably like talking it out.
Yeah.
Why she's picking it, justifying, let's stick it here and not here. And just to be a fly on the wall to kind of see that process working would have been so fun.
Like the second she says Lover, I could see like everybody in the room's like taking notes. And the second she says Lover, I could just see all the heads pop up like, oh, okay.
No, but we got questions.
Yeah, so that was an interesting one. Also something that has been, I'm not going to go ahead and say has been confirmed, though any other Swiftie on the internet's going to tell you this did confirm it. Taylor did make a statement in Singapore during the Folklore set. So if you've not watched the Eras tour, I don't know where you've been, but when she introduces the Folklore set, she talks about, during the pandemic, this was the first album she wrote. And so she needed to kind of escape. So she created this, what she calls a teenage love triangle, and that these songs are about characters. When she was in Singapore, she made an offhand remark and changed the narrative and said, maybe that's what it was. So, of course, the Swifties were like, oh, is she admitting that this is not about fictional characters? On that playlist, she put the song Betty, and it has long been rumored that she is Betty. And that perhaps she was the one that was cheated on. And it is on the I Love You, It's Running My Life playlist. So, of course, the Swifties have applauded themselves and now believe that they were correct. I don't know. It seems like that's potentially what it means, but she didn't tell me. So, then the last one is The Old Habits Die Screaming, which I thought was a very interesting, totally Taylor way of saying that. This one to me was the kind of the most heartbreaking one though. Bigger Than the Whole Sky is what it starts with, which we've talked about the rumors about what it's potentially about.
Yeah.
Which actually, that being on that playlist and leading the playlist made me think it's not what it's been speculated, which I was kind of glad because that broke my heart.
Yeah.
But it does have Maroon on it. You're Losing Me is on there. Champagne Problems, All Too Well. We Were Happy, Last Kiss. But also it's got Forever Winter on there, which I thought was another interesting one because that's the one she wrote about her friend that committed suicide. So I don't know. Again, it proves that we will never know what's really going on in her mind and her. But they're a great playlist, and 1 week from today, we will know so much more. God help the Swifties. I feel like some of them are going to implode. Like,
I can't even imagine how many have had to take like PTO next week.
listen,
it's gonna be so into it.
It's gonna be rough.
Gosh.
Last bit of Taylor news that I was going to bring up, and I freaking love this. We've talked about on here, and it has actually affected this show. To be honest, we have talked about we get the most views and downloads when we do talk about Taylor on here, and especially if she's in the summary or the title by like massive amounts of difference in numbers. Like, I don't know what you people are doing listening to us, but thank you.
Thanks.
But what was helping us as well was on TikTok when I would post about the show, I would use Taylor songs, and then UMG removed their songs. Well, Taylor said, you know what? Guess who owns my masters? I do. So our girl put her songs back on TikTok yesterday. And I freaking love that for her.
Yes.
And people were talking about, she made this tweet a long time ago, like 2014. She had made a tweet that sometimes when she's jet lagged, and she's like answering work emails on the plane, that she gets so delirious, she just responds, I'll do what I want. And so people have been retweeting that because she did what she wanted this week. The only things not on there or not available are debut and Reputation songs. God willing, that'll change soon because those will be released. But I love it. They're back on there, so that's going to help our show, but also it's just fun. So
we just like having our music available.
Yeah. So that's our Taylor thing. I will say, I was going to point this out. Listen, we're not going to get into the 112-day theory and all of that. Like,
it's too much math, you guys.
We are not math people. A lot of it makes sense. I get very convinced of it. Becca's more of a skeptic.
There's enough people on TikTok that are covering it. We don't need to jump into that realm.
Listen, I know it drives Becca crazy. I still send her every video because I'm like, I'm already in the hole. I need you here. I need you here with me to help me. We had an eclipse this week. It was really cool here in Arkansas. We were in the path of totality.
Same.
There is something to the eclipse in Taylor's music, and apparently there is something to the TTBD album with the eclipse. Reputation and other albums she's released right with an eclipse. This is releasing with this one. There's apparently a lyric about the eclipse that she's released sort of ish on Taylor Nation.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happenstance. I don't think anything that ever happens with Taylor is happenstance. So
no, there's a purpose behind it. We just don't always know what that is.
But what I love, and I'm interested to see, this is going to be a long time coming. As my son likes to keep pointing out, the next one's like 21 years away, and we're going to be like in our 60s then. And it'll be interesting to see, does she release an album still then? I don't know.
What are you releasing then? She'll be in her 50s.
It'll be like folk music. I don't know. I don't know. That was my last Taylor thing. Kind of in the vein of Taylor, New Heights this week totally surprised me.
Same.
They had Little Dicky on, and if you're not familiar with Little Dicky, welcome to the party. Same.
Right. We weren't either.
I mean, I had heard the name, but like I didn't know. Okay, when I saw his picture, I didn't know who it was. I honestly thought at first it was Jack Harlow.
Okay, that would have made sense.
So Lil Dicky is apparently a rapper, a comedian, a writer. So when I heard who he was and looked it up, I was like, oh, this is not my thing.
When you text me that, I was like, this might be the week I skip. That's one less thing I can watch.
But I checked it out, and I freaking love the dude.
So good.
I mean, am I gonna watch his show? Probably not. I might check out an episode. I'm not somebody that gets into like shtick comedy. Yeah, that's not my thing. But he was a totally entertaining guest, very like well-spoken, like super smart, came across that way. I loved him.
Across to me very Taylor Swift like. in the sense of I'm going to figure this out my own way. I don't need all these industry people. I don't need you to figure something out for me. I'm going to do it for myself. I'm going to have ownership over it. It was interesting because hearing his name and seeing his picture, I didn't expect much from the interview, but hearing him talk through some of the things that he's done and how he's gotten to where he has was just very interesting. He's very well spoken, very intelligent.
Yeah.
It was a great interview.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. If you haven't watched it and you're like, I have no interest, trust me, same, but it was so good.
Yeah.
This was not in our show notes, but last night, New Heights did their live show in Cincinnati. It had to get moved from the football field to the basketball arena. I saw where they had like 13,000 people there. Not surprised. Looks like it was a heck of a time. I thought it was so fun that Travis and Taylor, Lord, well, them too. Travis and Jason got their diplomas finally. I thought that was fun. I loved that they played Shake It Off and during Name That Tune. And my favorite moment, though, did you see that, Travis said, oh, it's one of my favorites, but did you hear Jason?
Yes, I did. And it's also Wyatt.
Oh, I love it.
Wyatt, she's got to sing and got to dance.
Yeah.
So it's right up her alley.
It looks like it was so fun. They said they're going to do it again. I would love to go. I think they would be so entertaining. Just watching the clips I've seen, I can't wait to see the video of it.
Yeah, looks like it was a lot of fun.
And I love that they got to, I love that everything they do, I mean, sure, it's for entertainment value and sure, it gets their name out there, but like this was really to raise money for the NIL for Cincinnati. And Jason got to award one of the walk-ons with a full scholarship.
Yeah.
Ugh, that gets me.
Awesome.
I'm up over it.
I enjoy when people that already make bukus amounts of money and are already famous, when you see them get to enjoy giving back and doing something for other people. And to them, it's just like, well, why wouldn't I do it? But it's just so nice to see people genuinely care about where they came from. They don't owe it to the university to do anything. They don't owe it to anybody to give up any of that money. So to see them kind of enjoy giving back and going back to home was fun.
Well, and I think too, I mean, we say all the time about Taylor, we made the right person famous. I feel the same way about Jason and Travis. But also, I think you take into account, we're not talking about guys that went to Alabama, or Texas or USC. I mean, Cincinnati, like, not a big name school, not, not a lot of anything, really. I mean, if anything, I would say they were more of a basketball school back in the day, but I don't even know that they were much of that.
Yeah.
So those are kids that are not going to get the opportunities they're going to get if they're getting recruited by a bigger name school. And so when guys like the Kelsey boys are getting money funneled into their NIL program, I mean, that's huge.
Right. Yeah.
We ran into that this week with the whole Arkansas deal with the coaches. Calipari's coming from Kentucky, where in basketball, that's top 5 tier, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Drake is at half their games and half the NBA went to Kentucky. So like NIL out there in Lexington is huge. Well, that was part of the problem that Calipari didn't want to come to Arkansas because that's part of our problem. We've talked about it on here. We can't get athletes because we don't have the need. So finally, the big name families in Arkansas, the Tysons and the Waltons, the Hunts, the Stevens, they've all came up to the plate finally and are going to give a gazillion dollars to the NIL program. And sure, was it to land Calipari? Yeah, but who gets the benefit? The kids. I mean, I don't agree with the NIL still, but I mean, at least like let us be competitive.
Right. Even if we don't like it, it's still there and exists. So we've got to be.
And I'll be honest, as a taxpayer in Arkansas, I'm not going to get into politics, especially this state and this subject. But I am happy they're giving the money. It's not coming out of my taxes.
There you go.
We can still be friends and disagree. That's what I'll say. So that's that news. Okay. Morgan Wallen.
God love him.
Let's talk about it. Tell the people what's happened.
So Mr. Wallen was in Nashville on tour, the tour that he just started.
I think we're 2 days in. 2 days.
Yeah. And then he went to, was it Eric Church's new bar that just opened?
Called Chiefs. Yeah.
Called Chiefs. Went up to the 6th floor, was hanging out with his buddies, drank too much, and decided, you know what the smart thing is? Let's chuck a chair off the 6th floor balcony onto Broadway.
One of the busiest streets in the South
Right.
because, yeah.
Lucky for him, it did not land on a person because A, it could have killed him or seriously injured him, but it did land next to 2 cops. So
not a good look.
no. So he
What are
was
we looking at? How many? What was it? 6 felony charge? Like, do you remember what the charges? Like, how many there were?
I think there was only 2.
Well, listen, I have Rashee Rice on my brain. He finally turned himself in. That's the whole thing.
I'm pretty sure he had 6, but Morgan's was 2.
Yeah, he's first of all lucky in general that he did not kill or hurt anyone, any human being. But let me tell you, you do that to a cop, they're gonna put you under the prison.
Here's my thing with celebrities doing stupid stuff like this.
Okay.
Who are you hanging out with? Because your buddies all want you to stay famous and making money. And also, do you not have friends who are genuinely good that are like, hey, man, let's not do this? Or, hey, maybe you've had enough to drink. Or, hey, let me get that chair off your hands. Why is nobody around these people giving them solid advice? Because it's not like he's an 18-year-old kid. He is a grown man with a child. You know better.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just.
Do you like Morgan Wallen's music? We've never talked about it.
I enjoy it when it comes on.
Yeah.
I do like some of the stuff he's released, but I don't go out and buy his albums. I wouldn't go to a concert.
Yeah, same. I have some friends that bought tickets to the Ole Miss concert the last time he was on tour, and then that was the show that he was like, I'm good. Didn't come out. Yeah. So yeah. This is Morgan's that debacle happened at the Ole Miss show, but then he also had the debacle where he used an inappropriate racial expletive, whatever you want to call it. So that was one scandal, and now this. And it appears that all of his scandals are rooted in alcohol, if you ask me. It seems like every time dude gets drunk, something goes awry. Yeah. It's like we talked about with Rashee Rice. Get a driver, my man. Like, get some better people around you to keep you out of trouble. Get a handler. Like, I don't know. I just think, I don't think Morgan Wallen is thought of as like a role model for kids. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. But it's not even about that anymore. It's like, just be a better human. Like, if you can't control your alcohol, and if your team sees you can't control your alcohol, get some help. Like, they said that it was a weird situation, though, that like it wasn't even kind of like a volatile environment. Like, he was just casually talking to somebody and then just randomly chunked a chair. What are you doing?
I just don't know. Anytime I've been hanging out with friends at dinner or late at night, if a chair has ever landed in my hands and I thought, let me just chunk this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of worried about your mental stability at that point, but I don't know. So we'll see what happens with Morgan. I mean, I doubt he gets in a lot of trouble just because he's famous. Yeah. Now, regular Blow Joe here again, like if it was Rashee Rice and that was a regular human, like you'd be in trouble, but I'm sure nothing will happen. I'm interested to see what happens with this tour because I don't know. I wouldn't be buying tickets yet. That's all I know.
We'll see.
So I'm going to flip gears and go the opposite on famous people. I love Jelly Roll. Okay?
Yes.
Now, I don't even know much about his music, to be completely honest. I just freaking love him as a human.
Yes.
And his wife. Okay, so I wasn't like on the up about them. I didn't really understand. And I was like, she's a porn star? What's happening? I don't get it.
Yeah.
I love them. Every interview I see with them, I just fall in love with them more. He genuinely seems like I want to give him a hug. Like, I love them.
They just seem like genuinely kind, good-hearted people. And I think it just resonates because we don't get to see that so much. Not saying that a ton of celebrities aren't that way, but it's not expressed as much. And just for them, they appreciate every opportunity that they're given. They truly seem to speak from their heart and they don't come across shady or, trying to climb some kind of a ladder. They just are genuinely grateful that they have the platform that they do to get to do the things that they love. They're so fun to watch together and to see how they interact.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest, when I first saw them and like heard the rumors about her, I was like, what is going on here? Is she just with him because he's kind of on the up? Like, what's happening? I
Yeah.
generally think that that's not the case. I think that they really are like they're so cute together, and and again, I don't think I can tell you one song the man sings. But I love them, and that was just really all my note was on that one.
Yep.
Um,
They're good.
Speaking of country music, though, I want to talk about Kelsey Ballerini for a second.
Okay.
Um, do you listen to Kelsey Ballerini?
I listened to her newest album that she released.
Same. Okay. Yeah, I don't know about her old stuff. If she has old stuff, I don't really know. I kind of came on the scene with her like right when I guess her divorce was like just ending and she was just
Yeah.
getting with Chase Stokes. So there's a bunch of rumors out right now. She just hosted the CMT Awards and she wore a very what I would call Taylor-esque kind of performing outfit in one song where it's like just I don't know what you call these things. I call them a unitard. I don't know if that's right.
I think that's what it is.
It was sparkly gold, whatever. It doesn't have pants. And people were all open arms that she wasn't wearing pants. And I'm like, listen, y'all been listening to Dolly Parton with her boobs hanging out for 40 years. Like,
well, here's the thing. Like, it was clearly a performance outfit. She's not wearing it to go to dinner with the girls.
No.
Like, she was wearing it for a performance. So for these people that just think she should have worn like a simple dress or pants with a suit, like it was a performance outfit, you guys.
The whole thing, I'm like, Taylor doesn't wear pants either. Like, what is happening? No. And there's rumors now that people are accusing her of being an industry plant, which I don't even know how that would have worked. Yeah. And if
did you see her TikTok she put out?
Yeah, when she's like listening to it, eating, and she's like, that's the same look I had. I was like,
yeah,
winning more awards and stuff if that was the case. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
She's been around for a long time. I mean, I've heard her name for years and years, but
I don't know.
Just did it big, which I think a lot of people that didn't do American Idol or get famous on TikTok, like they've worked for a really long time. So even though maybe just now we're hearing their name and listening to their stuff, they've been in the industry a long time.
Yeah, like let's just let people be. I don't know. I'm over it.
Mercy.
Well, that's about an episode, I think. I mean,
so. We covered the gamut, guys.
Yeah, listen, we will not leave a stone unturned around here. Yeah.
That's right.
Come back next week. I guess next week's episode that we record will be about TTPD. So if you don't like Taylor, you might want to skip that one, or you should just listen because that's a smart thing to do. So about all we got, though.
That's right. Thanks guys.